So the original A Doll's House was written back in the late 1800s, and this version of A Doll's House Part 2 was written very recently. It's a contemporary take on what would happen if the story continued 15 years after Nora Helmer famously leaves her husband and family to go find herself. She's really in search of what it is to be an individual. And so at the end of Ibsen's A Doll's House, she walks out the door, and back when it was originally produced, they called it the door slam heard round the world, because females did not leave their husbands to go in search of themselves. But Doll's House Part 2 picks up 15 years later, and the playwright Lucas Hnath did a really excellent job at making sure that if you hadn't seen Ibsen's A Doll's House, either seen it or read it, that's okay. He does a really unique job at summing up why she left and what happened in the original.
Cool. Anyway.
So we wanted to produce A Doll's House Part 2 as close to our production of Ibsen's A Doll's House because we felt it was a unique opportunity to connect the two pieces through designers, through actors, and particularly with our audiences. We wanted to make sure when the audience walked through the theater doors that they felt a sense of nostalgia, familiarity with the living room. When people walk in, they're going to notice the same rug. They'll notice some of the same scenic design elements. That's because we utilized and hired Jörg Cousineau, who designed the set in Ibsen's A Doll's House and redesigned this set for A Doll's House Part 2, and Olivera Gajic, who designed the costumes for Ibsen's A Doll's House, as she did for A Doll's House Part 2. One other exciting element is there's multiple characters that are in Ibsen's version and Part 2. Nora and Torvald, who are the famous married couple, as well as the child caretaker, Anne-Marie. And what's unique about this production is the actor who played Anne-Marie in Ibsen's A Doll's House last season is playing Anne-Marie in A Doll's House Part 2. Her name is Joylette Harris. I think people should see this show because it's a contemporary look at what would happen if the story continued 15 years later. I think it's timely. I think it speaks to what we're dealing with in society right now, and it really is scathingly funny. So it's a great night out at the theater. And it's 90 minutes, no intermission. Those are my favorite words.
Perfect. Nice. That's great.